Hello everyone, welcome to L Talk. Tonight we'll be looking at anatomy of the heart. Right? So the heart is a muscular organ which contracts at least once every second to pump blood through the body. It is also an extensive electrical system that initiates and coordinates its contractions. It maintains the blood flow in the circulatory system. During rest, the heart pumps 2 ounces of blood per beat and 5 quarts per minute. Wow. The heart contains 4 chambers, 2 on the top and 2 on the bottom. Each small upper chamber is an atrium and each large chamber is a ventricle. So the septum is a central wall that divides the heart into right and left sides. The inferior tip of the heart is the apex. Electrical impulse called an action potential is generated at regular intervals in a specialized region of the right atrium called the sinoauricular or sinoatrial node. Oh my god. Since the 2 atria form single muscular unit, the action potential will spread over the atria. A fraction of a second later, having been triggered by the action potential, the atrial muscles contract. The ventricles form a single muscle mass from the atria. When the atrial action potential reaches the juncture of the atria and the ventricle, the atrioventricular conducts the impulse. After a slight delay, the impulse is passed by the way of yet another bundle of muscle fibers. Contraction of the ventricles quickly flows the onset of its action potential. So the electrical stimulus that leads to contraction of the heart muscle thus originates in the heart itself. In the sinoatrial node, which is also known as the heart's pacemaker, it lies just in front of the opening of the superior vena cava. Measures no more than a few millimeters. It consists of the heart cells that emit regular impulses. Because of its spontaneous discharge of sinoatrial node, the heart muscle is automated. A completely isolated heart can contract on its own as long as its metabolic process remains intact. The rate which the cells of the sinoatrial node discharge is externally influenced through the autonomic nervous system, which sends nerve branches to the heart. Through their stimulatory and inhibitory influences, they determine the resultant heart rate. In adults, at rest, this is between 60 and 74 beats a minute. In infants and young children, it may be between 100 and 120 beats a minute. Tensions, exertions, or fever may cause the rate of the heart to vary between 55 and 200 beats a minute. The coronary arteries supplies blood to the heart muscles. These vessels originate from the aorta. Immediately after the aortic valve and branch out through the heart muscles. The coronary veins transport the deoxygenated blood from the heart muscles to the right atrium. right? The heart's energy supply is almost completely dependent on the coronary vessels. When the coronary vessels becomes blocked, as arteriosclerosis or hardening of the arteries, blood flow to the cardiac muscles is compromised. Right? This is when the common bypass surgery is performed, where the coronary arteries are bypassed by replacing them with, for example, a vein from the leg. A double bypass is when two coronary arteries are bypassed. So the muscles pump the blood through the body by means of rhythmical contraction, which is called systole, and relaxations and dilation, which is diastole. The heart left and right halves work almost simultaneously, right? Yeah. When the ventricles contract, systole, the valves between the atria and the ventricle close as the result of increasing pressure, and the halves of the pulmonary artery and the aorta open. When the ventricles become flaccid during diastole and the pressure decreases, the reverse process takes place. Right? So the right atrium, the blood passes from the right atrium, the blood passes to the right ventricle through the tricuspid valve, right, which consists of three flaps or cusps of tissues. The tricuspid valve remains open during diastole, which is the relaxation and the dilation, right, or ventricular filling. When the ventricle contracts, the valves closes, scaling the opening of and preventing backflow into the atrium, right? So 5 cords attached to small muscles called papillary muscles on the ventricle's inner surface prevents the valve flaps from being forced backward. From the right ventricle, blood is pumped through the pulmonary or semilunar valve, which has 3 half-moon-shaped flaps, into the pulmonary artery. This valve prevents backflow from the artery into the right ventricle. From the pulmonary artery, blood is pumped to the lungs, where it releases carbon dioxide and picks up oxygen. So our body do need oxygen, right? So see you next time on L Talk, where we will continue on the anatomy of our hearts. Until next time.